A massive research station floated in deep space, home to the most brilliant minds in the galaxy. Scientists from hundreds of species worked together, pushing the limits of knowledge. Their mission was to understand the mysteries of the universe, but today they faced something unexpected, something simple, yet deeply unsettling. It all started when a human student submitted a homework assignment. The assignment had been given to a group of exchange students from Earth who were studying at the Galactic Academy of Sciences. The task was meant to test their understanding of advanced galactic physics, something that had taken other species centuries to master. The council members expected humans to struggle, as their civilization was still considered young in the grand scale of things. Dr. Xelvar, a four-eyed reptilian scientist from the Oleran species, received the human student's work. He barely paid attention at first, expecting basic mistakes and misunderstandings. He casually glanced at the paper, but as he read further, his four eyes widened. His claws tightened around the datapad. The calculations, they were too elegant, too efficient. Something was wrong. At first, he thought the student had copied the work from another species, but when he ran the equations through his computer, the system flagged them as previously unknown. That was impossible. These calculations led to new energy conversion principles, something the Council had been struggling with for over 1,000 years. Dr. Xelvar called in his assistant, a bird-like scientist named Professor Ilmar. "Check this," he said, his voice shaking. Ilmar scanned the work and let out a sharp squawk. No, this must be a mistake. A human child could not have created this formula. It challenges the very foundation of our understanding. They immediately took the problem to the highest scientific council. Within an hour, the greatest minds of the galaxy had gathered. They'd projected the human student's equations onto a massive screen, analyzing every detail. The room fell silent as they worked through the numbers. Dr. Mivan, a cybernetic intelligence specialist, finally spoke. This equation, if correct, could revolutionize our energy systems. It means that matter-to-energy conversion could be done at nearly 100% efficiency. We have never achieved such results before. The room buzzed with nervous energy. Some scientists looked terrified. Others whispered to each other in disbelief. This wasn't just advanced mathematics. This was a scientific breakthrough that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. A short, furry scientist from the Yenar species, Professor Lurik, stepped forward. "We need to confirm this. If this is real, then humanity has just solved a problem we have been working on for centuries. But how? How can a species so young, so primitive in our eyes, achieve this?" Dr. Xelvar, still gripping the data pad, shook his head. "We must be careful. If humanity truly understands what they have done, they could become the most powerful species in the galaxy." The room fell into silence again. Fear and excitement mixed in the air. The realization was spreading through their minds. What if humanity was far more advanced than they had assumed? What if humans were not the ones behind? What if all this time, the rest of the galaxy was the one struggling to keep up? Panic was starting to set in. The Galactic Council had always believed they controlled knowledge, that they were the guiding force of science. If humans had already surpassed them in understanding, what else could they be hiding? Professor Ilmar broke the silence. "We need to keep this quiet. If word spreads that a human child has outperformed us, it could cause instability. Other species will question our leadership. Worse, some may try to act against humanity before they grow too powerful." Dr. Xelvar nodded. "Yes, we must contain this information, at least until we understand the full scope of what we are dealing with." But deep in his mind, he knew one thing for certain. This was not just a simple homework assignment. This was a warning, a message from humanity, whether they meant it or not. The galaxy had always believed humans were weak, but now, for the first time, they had proof that humans were something else entirely. Something terrifying. The research station, usually filled with the sounds of quiet discussions and beeping computers, had fallen into an uneasy silence. Every scientist who had seen the human students' homework was now gathered in a secure chamber deep within the facility. The Galactic Council of Sciences had declared the discovery a Level 1 scientific anomaly, a classification reserved for potential threats to the balance of knowledge across the galaxy. Information at this level was locked away, hidden even from the leaders of many advanced civilizations. Only the highest-ranking scientists had access to it. Dr. Selvar paced across the dimly lit room, his claws tapping against the smooth metal floor. His mind was racing. He had spent his entire life believing that his people, the Allorans, were among the greatest thinkers in the universe. Yet here he was, standing before an undeniable truth. Humanity had solved something they couldn't even begin to understand. Professor Ilmar, the bird-like scientist, sat at a console, running endless simulations. His feathers were ruffled, a clear sign of distress. "I have checked the numbers again," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "This isn't just a new theory. It's a breakthrough in energy physics. This equation could change everything." Dr. Mivan, the cybernetic specialist, turned from the main screen. His robotic eye flashed as he spoke. "If humanity has already reached this level of understanding, then we must ask ourselves, what else do they know? What are they capable of?" The question hung in the air like a storm cloud. Professor Lurik, the short, furry Yinar scientist, cleared his throat nervously. "We need to act. If humans truly grasp the significance of this, it will shift the power balance of the galaxy. What if they keep advancing at this rate? They could surpass us all in a few generations." Dr. Selvar stopped pacing. "And that is exactly why we cannot let this information spread. We must prevent any leaks. If word gets out, certain species, especially the Vorak Dominion, may see humanity as a threat and take action." The Vorak Dominion was a warlike empire, always seeking opportunities to crush potential rivals before they could rise. If they discovered that a human child had outsmarted the galaxy's best scientists, they would not hesitate to strike first. Professor Ilmar's feathers fluffed up in panic. "But what do we do? We can't just erase the knowledge from the humans' minds. They already know this, perhaps even more than what we've seen." A long silence followed. No one wanted to speak the next thought, but they were all thinking it. If humanity was this advanced, had they been hiding their true intelligence all along? Dr. Selvar took a deep breath. "First, we must contact the humans and request clarification. We will act as if we simply want to understand their thought process. If they do not realize how groundbreaking their work is, we may be able to control the situation." Dr. Mivan's mechanical fingers tapped against the console. "And if they do know?" Dr. Selvar's jaw tightened. "Then we are already too late." Without another word, the scientists turned to the communications panel. A secure message was sent to the United Earth Science Division, requesting an immediate discussion with the human professors overseeing the students. The message was carefully worded to avoid suspicion. But deep down, every scientist in the room knew the truth. This wasn't just about a homework assignment anymore. This was about survival. The United Earth Science Division received the encrypted message from the Galactic Council of Sciences within minutes. At first, the human researchers thought it was a routine academic exchange. But as soon as they read the contents, alarms were raised. Dr. Elaine Carter, one of Earth's leading physicists, sat in her office, rereading the message for the 10th time. Her expression was unreadable, but her fingers tapped rapidly against her desk. "Request for immediate discussion regarding recent human student submission. Urgent matter. Scientific anomaly detected." She leaned back in her chair, letting out a slow breath. They figured it out. Across the room, Dr. Amir Patel, a specialist in quantum mechanics, rubbed his temples. "They're panicking," he muttered. "They don't understand it, do they?" Elaine shook her head. "If they did, they wouldn't have called it an anomaly. They would have just integrated it into their own work. This means they've never even considered the possibility of what that kid wrote down." Dr. Patel sighed. That kid was Lucas Harrison, a 17-year-old student from New Chicago. He had been part of an advanced physics program that collaborated with intergalactic universities. His assignment: theoretical applications of high-energy field manipulation. The problem was that Lucas hadn't just theorized an answer. He had practically rewritten the laws of galactic physics in a weekend. Elaine pulled up Lucas's homework on her screen. The equations were elegant yet deceptively simple. They outlined a way to manipulate subatomic particles that would redefine energy production, propulsion, and even weapons technology. It was so revolutionary that if fully understood, it could turn a simple engine into something that bent the laws of space itself. Patil looked at the screen, then back at her. "Should we tell him?" Elaine snorted. "Tell him what?" "Hey, kid, your homework might destabilize the entire galaxy." A silence fell over them. Both scientists knew this was bigger than any one person, bigger than Earth itself. A soft chime broke the tension. The communication panel blinked, indicating an incoming call. Elaine exhaled sharply. "Well, here we go." She tapped the screen. The faces of several Galactic Council scientists appeared. Their expressions were tense. Dr. Xelvar, his reptilian face unusually stiff, spoke first. "Dr. Carter." "Dr. Patil. Thank you for responding so quickly." Elaine smiled politely, masking her concern. "Of course, Dr. Xelvar." "Your message sounded urgent." Xelvar hesitated, glancing at his colleagues before speaking. "We recently analyzed a document submitted by one of your students, the theoretical paper." His voice lowered. "We need to understand. Was this intentional?" Elaine kept her expression neutral. "Could you clarify?" Dr. Mivan, the cybernetic scientist, leaned forward. His mechanical eye flashed. "This document rewrites everything we know about energy manipulation. If applied, it could change warfare, industry, and space travel across the galaxy. We need to know, is this something humans have been keeping secret?" Elaine and Patil exchanged a glance. Patil sighed and decided to answer honestly. "No, we haven't been hiding anything. This was just a student's homework." Dr. Xelvar's expression darkened. "Then humanity is far more dangerous than we realized." Elaine leaned forward. "That depends. Dangerous to who?" A long silence followed. For the first time, the Galactic Council understood. The real question wasn't whether humans were dangerous. It was whether the rest of the galaxy could keep up. Across the Galactic Council's chambers, tension filled the air. Representatives from dozens of species had gathered, their voices a mix of hushed whispers and outright panic. The reason? A single piece of human homework, one that had shattered everything they thought they knew about physics. Seated at the head of the table was High Chancellor Varel, a veteran of interstellar diplomacy. His fur-covered face twitched in frustration as he reviewed the calculations for the 100th time. The numbers didn't lie. If the humans truly understood this technology, they were at least 1,000 years ahead of the rest of the galaxy. "This is a threat," growled General Orvac of the Jolter Dominion, slamming a heavy fist onto the table. His reptilian eyes burned with fury. "If humans possess such knowledge, they could wipe us out overnight. We cannot allow this." Dr. Xelvar, still visibly shaken, countered. "General, this was written by a mere child. If a human teenager can create something like this, what do you think their greatest minds have already built?" He leaned forward, voice tense. "If we act recklessly, we may provoke something we cannot control." Ambassador Riva, a delicate bird-like creature from the Selvani Republic, clutched her feathers in distress. "Perhaps we are misunderstanding. Humanity has never shown direct hostility. They share their science, their culture. Should we not first seek to understand rather than assume war?" Orvac bared his fangs. "You are naive. Knowledge is power, and power corrupts." He turned his glare toward the human representatives, sitting quietly at the far end of the table. "Tell us, humans, what else have you been hiding?" Dr. Elaine Carter and Dr. Emir Patel, the two Earth representatives, exchanged a glance. Patil sighed, rubbing his temple. For the last time, we didn't hide anything. This was just an assignment, an experiment by a single student. We didn't think it would cause a galactic crisis. Orvac snarled. And yet here we are. Chancellor Virel finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. Enough. We must make a decision. This discovery is too important. The Galactic Council has two choices. His glowing eyes swept across the chamber. Either we work with humanity to integrate this knowledge, or we contain them before they become unstoppable. A heavy silence followed. Patel exhaled slowly. I really hope you all make the right choice. His voice was quiet but carried an unmistakable warning. Because one thing was certain. If the galaxy chose to turn against humanity, humanity would not be the ones to lose. The Galactic Council chamber remained in stunned silence. The weight of the decision ahead pressed on every representative present. The realization that humanity's simple homework had the power to reshape the galaxy filled many with fear, others with awe. But one fact was clear. This discovery could not be ignored. General Orvac's patience was running thin. His reptilian claws scraped against the metal table as he leaned forward. I say we strike now. His voice was cold, his intentions clear. Humanity cannot be allowed to hold this kind of power unchecked. If they refuse to share their knowledge, we must take it by force. Dr. Xelver's fur bristled. You fool, he snapped. You think war with humans is a solution. Do you remember what happened the last time someone underestimated them? Their history is filled with stories of enemies who thought they were weak, until it was too late. Ambassador Riva clicked her beak, considering. There may be another way, she offered cautiously. If we approach humanity with respect, perhaps we can gain their trust, work alongside them, rather than against them. Orvac sneered. And if they refuse? Elaine Carter, the human scientist in the room, finally spoke. Her voice was calm, but her eyes held steel. Then you'll find out firsthand what happens when you push humanity too far. A shiver passed through the room. It wasn't a threat. It was a fact. Virel, the High Chancellor, closed his eyes in thought. He had seen enough wars to know that fear-based decisions often led to disaster. But at the same time, allowing humans to advance without understanding the full extent of their capabilities could be equally dangerous. A choice must be made, he said at last. We will either stand beside humanity or prepare for the consequences of standing against them. The chamber fell into hushed murmurs as the most powerful beings in the galaxy prepared to cast their votes. But as they debated, far beyond the Council's reach, another force was already making its move. A shadow lurking in the depths of space, watching, waiting, because humanity's greatest threat was not the Galactic Council. It was something far, far worse. While the Galactic Council argued over how to handle humanity, something far more sinister lurked in the darkness of space. A hidden force, one that had remained silent for centuries, was now watching. Deep in the uncharted void, a fleet of silent warships drifted undetected. Their hulls absorbed all signals, making them invisible to most scanners. Their purpose had always been clear: wait, observe, and strike when the time is right. The Jarn Dominion, an ancient and ruthless empire, had spent eons manipulating the balance of power in the galaxy. They thrived in the shadows, ensuring that no one species became too powerful. And now, for the first time in thousands of years, they saw a threat they could not ignore. Aboard the command ship Voidfang, Supreme Strategist Kelvok stared at the holographic projection of Earth. His eyes narrowed as reports flooded in. Humanity had created something beyond reason, something even their most advanced minds couldn't fully comprehend. A cold smile spread across his face. They do not know what they have done, he murmured, but they will soon learn. His second-in-command, Commander Lyrics, stepped forward. The Council is divided. Some wish to ally with the humans, others want war. Kelvok chuckled darkly. Good. Let them tear each other apart. We will clean up what remains. Lyrics hesitated. But, Supreme Strategist, these are Deathworlders. They are not like the others. If they survive their own planet's horrors, they may survive us. Kelvok's smile vanished. Then we make sure they don't get the chance. With a wave of his hand, the fleet came alive. Engines roared to life, weapons systems powered up, and dark energy rippled through the void. The Zharn had made their decision. They would strike before humanity could become unstoppable. And in the council chamber, as the representatives debated their next move, they had no idea that the greatest war in galactic history was about to begin. The Galactic Council remained in chaos. Some factions wanted to negotiate with humanity, while others still believed they could contain the Deathworlders. But they all failed to see the true danger creeping toward them. While the Council argued, the Zharn Dominion had already moved. Their fleets spread like shadows, positioning themselves across the galaxy. Their goal was simple: eliminate humanity before it was too late. On the human colony world Nuterra, scientists and engineers continued their work. They had no idea that an invisible enemy was watching their every move. The Zharn were not fools. They did not attack blindly. They studied. They prepared. They waited for the perfect moment. Supreme Strategist Kelvok stood in the war room aboard his flagship, watching a holographic display of humanity's expansion. His claws tapped against the console as he whispered, "They spread like wildfire, but fire can be smothered." Commander Lyric stepped forward. "Our forces are in position. The attack can begin at your command." Kelvok's eyes gleamed. "Then we will begin with a test. We will strike one of their colonies first. We will see how they react, how they fight, how they die." Within minutes, the plan was set. A stealth attack force moved toward Nuterra. Their ships were undetectable, their weapons primed. But humanity was not as blind as the Zharn believed. On a deep space patrol vessel orbiting Nuterra, Captain Elias Carter frowned at his console. Something felt wrong. His instincts, sharpened by years of war, screamed at him. He turned to his crew. "Run a full sensor sweep. Now." The crew hesitated. "Sir, there's nothing out there." "Do it." A moment later, alarms blared. Ghost signals. Cloaked ships. The fleet moving in. Carter's blood ran cold. "We're under attack." The trap had been set, but humanity had seen it coming. The Zharn Dominion believed their stealth attack on Nuterra would catch humanity off guard. They thought their cloaked fleet would strike unseen, eliminating the colony in one swift move. They were wrong. Captain Elias Carter sent an immediate distress signal. Within seconds, the entire human defense network came to life. Orbital defense stations powered up. Hidden automated turrets emerged from the planet's surface. But more than that, the trap had already been set. The Zharn were not the only ones watching. Humanity had been preparing for an attack long before this moment. They had been studying their enemies just as much as their enemies had studied them. As the Zharn fleet entered range, something unexpected happened. A pulse of energy erupted from Nuterra's defense grid, an electromagnetic wave unlike anything the Zharn had ever encountered. Within seconds, cloaked ships began to flicker into visibility. Their stealth technology, once thought to be perfect, was now useless. The Zharn commanders panicked. How did they detect us? This is impossible. But it was only the beginning of their nightmare. From the darkness of space, human warships emerged. They had been waiting, hidden inside asteroid fields, using decoys and false transmissions to lure the Zharn into their trap. Then the attack came. Human railguns roared. Kinetic rounds tore through Zharn hulls like paper. Missiles swarmed through the battlefield, tracking every exposed enemy ship. The Zharn, once confident in their surprise attack, were now in full retreat. Their fleet was burning, their commanders screaming. Kelvok, watching from his flagship, realized the truth too late. Humanity had not just been preparing for war. They had been perfecting it. As explosions filled the void, the Supreme Strategist issued the only order left to give. Retreat. Now. But even as the Zharn forces fled, they knew the truth. They had underestimated humanity. And now, humanity would come for them.